There we go. Now I can see everything. Thank you, Mr. I had to reinstall everything quickly on this computer because this is my newer computer, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't streamed from this yet, and I didn't feel like moving anything over. Thank you. Let's see. I'm trying to find where I put everything. There we go. Okay. And then let's pull up this. And then let me pull up my... Let's see. I guess I'll just put it under art reviews. Art reviews. There we go. Okay. Slowly but surely getting there. I probably should have done a better job of getting everything in its spot. Hello, good morning to everyone out there. I didn't even have a chance to even make myself coffee. I decided to go get myself water. This is not going well for a first stream. It's been a while. Let me see. Do I need to bump up the mic a little bit? Probably. 1, 2, 1, 2. Maybe that's a little louder right there. There we go. That's probably a better spot. A better spot. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you're doing well. It's been a while since I've been able to do one of these, and hopefully I got everything up and running correctly. Water's all you drink. I like to mix it up. I do drink a lot of water, though. Okay, let me move this to here. Let's see. I think I've got requests. Okay, so that's just that. Channel, general. Okay. I think... Okay, I'm hoping I'm good and everything. All right, we're kind of there for the most part. Glad you're doing well. I'm doing good too. I actually woke up super early and I got breakfast with my dad this morning, which is why I was rushing back because I had to get here in time. And then I realized for all of this, I had to reinstall really quick on this computer right here because I haven't streamed from it yet. So I've got no alerts, no nothing, just camera, mic, which thankfully you helped me out with the muting there. And that's pretty much it. So we'll be running bare bones, and then I'll get everything built from there because I totally forgot that I have not streamed from this computer yet. So forgive me if this is basic. I'm hoping even like the transfer screen here will work. Let me minimize that. Let me just make sure it goes over to Photoshop. Good, it does. All right, cool. I know it's last minute for everything that I had there, but if anybody wants me to review their art, that's what we'll be doing. If not, we'll just chill, talk. I can answer any questions that you have. This is just a little fun time for us to, you know, chill, talk, go over some art. I have no art submissions that I can see just yet. Let me check. For some reason, Instagram on my computer does not show me all the messages that are Instagrammed from my phone. So if anybody sent me DMs or of their art, might take me a little bit to find, but give me a second. I also can't wait until I get that share option from YouTube in the community section, so that way I can start seeing everybody's art, commenting, and then grab and then pull into a channel like this for live streams. So let me just pull up my Instagram. So Mr. Who, if you have any art or art-related questions that you want me to review or take a look at, I'll be more than happy because I'm just going to do a quick stream really quick and have fun and chit-chat and get it going. Okay, let me see. Okay, I do have one message from a Mr. Gnome. Said, will you review my art? But he did not send me a picture. Maybe I guess he was waiting for me to reply. I guess he could have just replied. You submitted one. You got it in the Dropbox. Let's open up Dropbox here. Where did it go to in my own Dropbox? Because I have art submissions. I don't see anything in there. I should probably take a look at where my own... Oh, maybe it's under photos? No. Not that one. What did I put for my own link? Let's take a look here. Because maybe that link's dead. Maybe that link's old. I didn't check. I just grabbed it from my last one that I did. Sorry if this double repeats back into itself. I'll minimize it here. Let's see where this Dropbox goes. Oh, that goes under art submissions. Oh, I made 2 folders called art submissions. This one's under this. Okay, well, that makes it nice and easy for me. Okay. Thank you. Cool. Which one's yours? I actually have 2 submitted in here. I've got a daytime forest with a mountain in the background, and then I've got a nighttime winter scene with a lake. Which one's yours, mister? Because they're just labeled as image 102 and image 2000, 2005, 1444. So let me know which one's yours, and I'll grab it. I guess I can just download both here really quick. Download. Where is the art reviews? There we go. Boom. And then let's grab this one too. Boom. All right, awesome. The signed CS1. Let's pull this up. Ah. Okay, the other one was from an SW. Okay, cool. Let me pull that into Photoshop for you, and we'll have a little bit of fun and take a look at what we got here. And then let me move this out of the way. And then pull this back up so I can see what I am doing. There we go. And then move that back over here. Sorry, a lot of steps for me to make sure that I can see everything and get it rolling. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here for you. So first of all, let me know, mister, what number painting do you think this is? Oil or acrylic or any other mediums? What were some things that you did well in, and what were some things you struggled in, so that way I can kind of tailor a little bit of my critiquing and feedback and helpful tips for you, because that way I can kind of, you know, give you a little better guidance here and there. And then let me set up my tools here. After I get a drink of water, let's duplicate this because I don't want to ruin your masterpiece. And then let's see, let's correct these tools. We'll do a green for somewhat good, and then flip it over and we'll do a red for somewhat bad. Wish there was a way to hide. Oh, you know what? I could put this down in the corner so that way it's not blocking anything for you. I like what you got here though. This is a cool little painting. This looks based off one of Bob Ross's tutorials. Can't remember exactly which one, but we've got a nice gradient sky with some soft little clouds in there. Background mountain, distinctive horizontal horizon tree line there with the lake feeding out. And then we got our big bushy trees on the left and some land, and then repeated and kind of flipped on the right hand side. And we've got our water pulled down. This is looking pretty good. Oil number 107, I can do the sky and background, and trees good. Yeah, you seem to be doing pretty well here for a lot of the things that you have. I would actually say that your, let's flip this around here. Is this gonna, why is this not drawing anything? Hello? Why is this, wait, is my layer locked? Why is this not coloring on this layer? No. No. Oh my gosh, why won't this let me draw on this layer? Hold on. Let's close it out. No. Oh, wait, where'd my file? Oh, and I closed my file accidentally. Crap, hold on. Let's pull this open. Art reviews. Dump it back in. There we go. Okay. That was a weird Photoshop moment. It's being weird for us. Okay, now let's switch this back over. So your sky looks actually pretty good for what we can see up here. One tip that I love to give in my classes, mister, is when you have a sky, and if you want to create a focal point, your focal point would more or less be from the mountain down into like right here. Generally the top 1/2 of your painting to 1/3 is where your focal point would be going, because your eyes are kind of getting directed towards your mountain and whatnot. And a great way to help with that is darkening up your corners that you have up here. So all you would need to do is just add a little more blue and just do some cross strokes and kind of blend it towards your mountainside, making sure that you leave a little bit of white around the horizon side, so that way it's got this nice dissipation of color, and you'll create that beautiful gradient effect. But it also creates those beautiful focal points of having a little bit darker. Or if your sunlight is on one side, like let's say this is your sun and he's pushing light this way, you can make this side over here a little bit darker and this side a little bit brighter. That way it's got a transition going in the sky, but it'll add a lot more depth to your painting, and it's just a simple little trick, especially if you want to create like a focal point that's going on in there. The one thing I do notice is it looks like you got a little bit of mess on your mountain here. Perhaps your paintbrush grabbed something accidentally when fluffing or blending or pulling down. Quite common. Hey, what's up going, Larry? How you doing there, man? How's everything going on with you? What I like to do for my mountains, if you accidentally grab something, is an angled shader works wonders. So that way when, let's say you put this in with your palette knife and you got these nice sharp edges that come down and across, that angled shader allows you to come in and kind of grab the mountain and just pull with a little more precision, let's just say, as you come down and across. Then when you have like this nice little, this nice little buffer line there, you can then take your 1-inch brush or your 2-inch brush and pull down and remove the excess paint you don't need. So that would be probably the best tip I can get, is get yourself a basic angled shader. You don't need an expensive one. Anyone that's like $3 to, you know, whatever you want to spend, $15 will always be fine. That's very good. If you do end up going outside your mountain lines right here, it's okay. Just take your palette knife and scrape back up slightly high with a jiggled hand and then pull down. It'll just add a few more ridges in like valleys and crevasses and all those things. And then you just go back over it with white and you've cleaned it up. You've just made your mountain a little bit bigger, but you've corrected your mistakes. It looks like you are having a little bit of trouble with your snow breaks and shadow side, which to me is one of the most difficult things. So I would say just practice that. I've got a few good videos. I think if you type in my name and Mountain Masters, or how to paint mountains like a master, you'll get a 20-minute tutorial of how I do it. So it'll go over like wiping off the inside, getting the correct roll, and then allowing it to break as it comes down. You've got the correct angles here, which is very good. You could probably get away a little bit from making triangles as much. Like when I outline it, you see it a little bit more. Don't be afraid to add a little bit of like wiggle up into these mountains as you come up and across and over. It'll give it a little more character as it comes down and across and look more natural in shape. And all you did was kind of just shake and jiggle your hand. And then you can start dropping in your lines for, you know, your shadow side versus your highlight side and whatnot, and then it looks a little more realistic. You started to get a few breaks there, which is nice. Your shadow side, I can tell you're pushing a little too hard, and so what that is let me go big screen here for you, because I'll give you a really cool tip, mister, is when you're going away from you, I know it's kind of flipped from the camera to me to you right now, but I'm right-handed. So when you're taking your knife and you're going away from you, people have an easier time. I don't have a palette knife near me. I don't have anything near me. I've got a regular knife near me for some reason. I think it's because I was having breakfast. When you're going away from you, it's easier to keep the knife kind of flat when you start out, and then as you come down, you can flatten out the knife, exposing more of the roll as you come across. And a lot of people find that easier. When you come towards you, people generally will leave the knife flat. So you're exposing that entire roll that's on the end really quickly. And when you do, it goes, and it just kind of acts like butter or cream cheese on a piece of bread or bagel, and you're just making icing on a cake because you're just pushing the knife flat and kind of going down. You want to keep it vertical or perpendicular as much as you can. And then as that roll starts to peel off and break, then you start pulling the knife down and angling it down as you come down and across, just like you would as you would go away, because your hand kind of naturally does that as you're pushing. But when you're pulling, your hand kind of stays more flat. So it's up to you to rotate your wrist down and across. Okay. So keep it flat a little bit more. And then as you start to pull down, then start to flatten out the knife as you come in closer to your chest. Okay. So that'll start eliminating what you have going on right there. Okay, let's make this a little smaller. That way it's better for me. And that'll help correct a lot of things. Also, don't feel like you have to color your entire mountain with paint. It's okay to leave that dark gray color that you're putting underneath, because when you do, it's going to add all these little different textures. It's going to look like stone, shadows. It's going to look like the mountain melted at certain points and the base rock is poking through. So don't feel like you have to paint everything white or everything blue for the highlight and shadow. I know that's really tough to do when you're a brand new painter, because you're like, oh, I've got paint. I got to start painting on here because that's the goal. No, sometimes leaving that base coat will really, really help you out. Mountains can be a nemesis. They're one of my favorite things to paint, but they are challenging. Usually my biggest nemesis is trees and bushes. I'm just like never happy with them. I'm like, that doesn't look like a tree, even though it kind of does. And when it comes to a bush, I'm like, that doesn't look like a bush, even though it kind of does. But to each our own. All right, let's keep continuing down. So the next thing you have back down here, let me move this up here for you guys, is you have this really, really cool tree line. The only problem with your tree line that you have, mister, is since it's a background element, it should be not as in focus as your midground to foreground elements, okay? If you notice, even though you use a darker color, which is fine, you should dissipate it out or soften it up. So you can do two things. You can either add a little misty layer at the base and have sharper tops, or you can use a little bit of a lighter color, or you can take your 1-inch or 2-inch or fan brush, whatever you feel comfortable, and you can start feathering it out, because since it's in the background, there would be more light diffusion and light pollution and more atmosphere near the base, because light's reflecting off so many different water elements in the sky around this point, that this should be more distant, shouldn't be as sharp to the eye. So this shouldn't be as deep and sharp as this, and then this also shouldn't be as deep and sharp as this, because you're building layers that are getting closer to you. Generally, the closer things are to you, the sharper and darker and richer and more contrast they'll have. I mean, if you live anywhere there's mountains or anything with long scape near you, landscape, just go look at something. You'll notice that it's not as sharp at the bottom, and it's not as sharp the further it is away. And so you just got to kind of fade things out. I know it's hard to do because you're just like painting, but just a simple little thing of tapping them in with your fan brush, going tap, 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 removing the excess paint if you need to, and then giving it some light fluff ups. That fluff up's going to do a few things. When you fluff up on your trees, this hand's my tree, this hand's my brush. When you fluff up, one, you're removing excess paint, all the extra paint. So every time you do a stroke, it's removing extra paint, which means less pigment, which means it's not going to be as sharp. Okay? The other thing it's going to do is it's going to start pushing that pigment into the background of the surrounding canvas, which means it's also going to fade away and not have sharp edges. It's going to be more soft. So rather than being this, it's going to start to fluff out, making the eye have the illusion that it's less sharp and less detailed. So just simple things. So next time you're creating like a nice distant tree line there, just try to give it a nice little feather. Just sit there for, I don't know, 15, 30 seconds and work across. Go wipe off the brush, maybe flip it over and come back the other way and just go boom. You nailed it. And I think you'll be amazed at how much better it looks. You can also pull those things straight down a little bit too if you want to pull your trees into your water reflections as well. But that's another lesson for another day. Mountains are a favorite to paint. Same here. I think they're one of the most beautiful elements. Plus, they just look so good with oil paint. The beautiful flows, the thick textures, the bright pigments just look good. The nice thing about your entire painting that you have here, mister, is you have really good placement of all of your elements. You got your, you got your background, then you've got a great midground, and then you've got a great foreground. So kudos on doing that all perfectly and correctly. Let's take a look at your trees here. The only thing I would critique on the trees and bushes is contrast. Like we already said, from the midground to the 4-ish ground elements, but even in your trees, there's not a lot of contrast that we can see that's making it stand out. So your trees are more or less the same color as your bushes here, and then these trees are more or less the same color of these bushes here. So it kind of looks like everything here just blends into one, and there's no distinction between the two. So what we can do is, you can do a few things as a beginner, is have you pick what you want. For your trees, use a darker color, like a sap green mixed with phthalo blue or Prussian blue, and that's going to be your base tree color. Or you can use that same color and use it as your bush color. I personally would probably use just like a sap green with a little bit of brown in it and make those with my trees. That's my base color, okay? And then for my bush color, I would probably do sap green mixed with a little bit of Prussian blue or phthalo blue just to darken it up, because I think that looks beautiful, and it's going to have a darker, richer color. So now there's separation between the two elements and assets within your painting. So then when you go to add highlights, it's going to have these different multitude of colors within them, okay? So that would be the first thing I would do. Also, when it comes to your trees, it looks like you need to push a little bit harder on your trees to get that pigment to really settle into the background. Or settle into the back. No, I don't want to move the layer. I want to move the layer this way. Not to settle into the back, but to push into the canvas so it sticks. So that way when you put highlight on top of it, it's more sticking on top rather than pushing in and mixing, okay? And it looks like you could really start to benefit from using a more, I'm going to use the correct term here, a more fatty paint, which is going to be more flexible, which is going to have an easier time sticking on top of these, okay? So you can cheat here. You can do a few things. You can already use a softer paint, which will have a little more fat medium in it, or you can introduce a little bit of liquid clear to your paint, or you can introduce linseed oil, walnut oil, poppy oil, anything like that. Each one of those will have a different effect on the paint, but it'll introduce a little more flexibility to the paint. The other mistake I can tell you're making is, you're like me when I started out, is you sometimes become frugal with your paint. When it comes to doing bushes and trees, you need more paint. So I would say load up that brush a little bit more, and it will reward you a little bit with more detail and a little bit more volume within your painting. Yeah, you can use paint thinner, but paint thinner is a little harder for new painters. I've used paint thinner for a number of paintings, and it works fantastic, but it's a lot harder to control due to the fact that it can become more ink-like or water-like. When you introduce a medium like the ones we mentioned earlier, like I'm a big fan of sun-thickened poppy oil just because I love the shine that it gets, but you can use, like I said, walnut, linseed, stand oil is a great one too. When you mix those in, it just makes the paint kind of have like this creamy, smooth texture to it that has like these light whips. So when you take your paintbrush through the paint and then you tap it in, it's got these little whips that stick off, and those whips are going to translate to the hairs on your brush. So that way when you push and bend the bristles and then pull away, it's got these like beautiful like little textures to them that either when you push one way look like pine needles, or push up look like leaves growing off of things, or a bunch of different things. So I would try that. Yeah, try using the liquid clear. Find a good balance. So let's say if you had, I don't know, a quarter, like a US quarter size of paint on your palette, try putting in like 3 to 5 drops of liquid clear into that and mix your paint up. And mix it good. You want it like take your palette knife, smush it, flip it over, beat the crap out of that thing, and you'll notice your paint will start to get like smoother and creamier and smoother and creamier, and then scoop it all up and then pull it down into a nice big pile. So that way when you take your fan brush through it or whatever you want, it's gonna come out like this beautiful velvet kind of thing. And then just kind of push that paint up onto the edges of your hairs. And now you'll notice like when you touch your canvas, it's just gonna go boop and it's gonna come off beautifully. So tap a few times, then wipe the paint off because it's gonna get contaminated because you're still learning. And then reload and go wipe off, reload, and you're gonna start seeing these beautiful thick textures come on there. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. If it's still struggling to get onto the paint, or sorry, from your paint to get onto the canvas, then add like 1 or 2 drops of clean thinner. That'll ink it out a little bit more and make it easier, okay? That'll really, really help with your trees and highlights. Don't forget also when you're doing your trees here, Butto, let's go back to yours. Don't forget to, like I can see it on this one. These ones I don't see it as much. But on your trees, what I find beneficial to my eyes, I like to cheat. Don't be afraid to add a template line, if you will, of your trunk. So that way you know how to build off. So that way when you're zigging and you're zagging, you know exactly where your center point is off everything as you're coming down and building. When you don't have a line and you're just going in here, you'll sometimes take your tree too far out one way like this, and then your other side will be unbalanced and it comes in short. So when you have that guideline there, it makes it easier for you to kind of like keep things more symmetrical, if that makes sense. Your tree zigzagging going back and forth actually looks really, really good. I would actually say these trees look better than these trees. I feel like you're more free and loose on this grouping here. Because look at the beautiful zag you got going. It's like boom, 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 boom. You're hanging all the branches in like the correct ways. I think you just need to push a little bit harder so those branches bloom from the brush, and you got a nice little thick there. But those are good, dude. Those are good. I just think the highlights need help. And then the same advice I'd give you for the trees is what I would say for the bushes. Remember when you do bushes though, since your light source is up here at the top, this is our happy little sun. Let's make him as happy as we can. Boop, boop, boop. This little guy is pushing sun down. You've established your light source is somewhere up in the sky. Doesn't matter where. But as you come down, your highlights are going to be on top of your bushes, which you do have. However, you also have highlights everywhere. Next time you paint something like this, make sure you leave dark areas, like down here and a few over here. The further you get away from your light source, there's going to be more dark areas. This is going to be even more dark over here because there's less light making it across this hump. And that's just going to make your painting stand out. That light is having a hard time either getting over that bush or penetrating through. So just put a little few highlights at the top and then stop and walk away. That's going to make everything look so much better. And then let's get rid of all this. Bye, Mr. Happy Sun. Should probably duplicate this layer. Let's move this bad boy up. And then your water's looking pretty good. Your land looks good. I think you could just probably use a little benefit from leveling it out. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and guess that you're right-handed. And when you're painting, since this is at the lower end, depending on what you're painting on, people generally have a habit of tilting their head when they get to the bottom of the painting and squatting because they're not as high as their easel or on a table. And when you squat, your hand naturally turns to accommodate with your head. Which, oh, you're left-handed, god damn it! I was wrong! Never mind then. It can still do with the left hand if you tilt one way or the other. But generally what happens is when you tilt your head, you tilt your hand, which means you're not having straight lines anymore. Your line went from being this, where's my camera? Went from being this to this now. So just be aware of that. Like, try to keep your body straight because it'll help keep your hand straight sometimes. When you tilt, you tilt. When you tilt, you tilt. So just keep that in mind. And I like the mixture of colors, dude. Everything's good. I would just say think about contrast a little bit more. Think about using a little more paint to make things stand out, to get a little bit more texture. But all in all, this is good. This is very good. I'm very proud of you. Signatures are a bitch. I don't even do signatures on mine because I'm never happy with mine. Actually, wood etch into the back of the frame is my kind of signature move that I'm doing now. This is very good. I'm very proud of you. Extremely proud of you, buddy. Keep sticking with it. Don't be afraid to use more paint. I know it's tough to do when you're a new painter because shit's expensive. All in all, I love it. I think it's great. And you said this was 107? Is that number like 107 as in you've done 107 paintings? Or this is like 107 as in like season 1, episode 7 from the Bob Ross tutorial? But I love what you did here, dude. Congratulations. You got to give yourself a lot of credit, my friend. I actually can't wait to see what you paint next time. I think if you painted this again, like let's say if this took you 3 hours to paint, I'm just throwing a random number out there. If you painted again like let's say next weekend or even this weekend, if you spent 4 hours, so, you know, whatever that is, 20% more time, 25% more time, I think you would see a lot of different and good improvements with the criticism and critique and feedback and analyzing that I'm doing here. Is just spend a little slower time on certain spots, and then take those tips that I gave you, and I think you'll start to see a lot of improvement. In fact, like if you're going to paint this again, what I would do is, personally, if I was trying to improve my skills, other way is I wouldn't even paint this element right here. I would just keep it solely this, okay? And the reason is because now I can concentrate on my sky, my clouds, my mountain, my tree horizon line, my background element of water, and then I can really hone my skills. Like maybe I'd put 3 trees instead of 2, but I can hone my skills on doing my branches with more color, more contrast, and then really work on my bushes and shape and land, and then I can figure out how to pull my water down over onto this side here. And I think that would help. I think it'd be less intimidating and more manageable as you work through everything, which would be great, So, awesome job, dude. I'm super stoked for you. I can't wait to see what your next one's going to be, and then if I can get back to where I can read chat, this would be awesome. There we go. Oh, it's your 12th oil painting. Nice job. You got a knack for it. Stick with. I love oil painting. Oil painting is just so much fun. Just the textures you get are so good. Oh, you're super welcome for the tips, dude. I really do enjoy doing these. I got to find time to do them more. I was even talking to my dad about it, and he was like, "Oh, you should try doing it like the first of the month or anything like that." It's just challenging sometimes. 1, you don't know who's gonna show up. 2, you don't know what kind of paintings you're gonna get. And 3, I don't even know if I'll be sober enough because I might have gone out partying or having fun the night before. It's just it's difficult sometimes, but I always enjoy it. Plus, I really like to see what people are painting and where they are in their journey, because somebody like you, Mr. Who, it gives me ideas on where I can help for when I do videos or tips or tricks. Like if I notice a lot of people are struggling with, I don't know, but let's just say water lines or something, I could be like, oh, maybe I should do a video on that because it can help a few people. You post time lapses on your YouTube painting? Or YouTube painting on your YouTube channel? What are you using to do time lapses, if you don't mind me asking? Also, by the way, thank you for letting me review your art. I know it's not easy, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. God, I forget to close my Steam. Where's my Steam at? There we go. Let me close my Steam really quick. Thank you for letting me review your art. It's always fun for me, and you can always, pay. I always appreciate the payback of make sure you use my links to buy products or watch my videos, or you can always become a member to help me and my channel keep growing. Just a basic camera. Oh, is that just a web camera, or is it like an actual camera from like your phone or like an actual DSLR? Okie dokie. Let me close this one up here. I got one more that's submitted. Oh, phone? Nice. Phone works great. My buddy Tally was telling me about this new program. If I research it a little bit more, I'll fill you in. It's an app that activates your camera within your iPhone that allows you to do certain intervals of captures within your time lapse, which is pretty cool. So if you do long paintings, you can tell it to capture like 1 image per second, 1 image per 3, per 14, or what you want, or video segments for a certain amount of time. Because he's really interested in doing time lapses, because he works on his paintings for like 20 hours. Okay, let me close this. All right, let's pull up the next one. If anybody else is out there that wants to submit, let me know. We can always tell you how. Sorry for the basic stream today and the messy room. This is what I'm cleaning this weekend. I got so much shit. So much shit, so little time. This next one's a really cool one too. But if anybody else out there wants to submit so I can review or give you tips and tricks, that's what I'm here for today. Just a fun little quick stream of what we have. You always forget to close your stream as well. Ugh. I'm telling you, man, being a streamer is a difficult little thing. First, you got to be excited to talk. You got to have a little bit of fun and enthusiasm. You can't just be like, that looks good. That's a nice job. Nobody's going to have fun with that. But I think people forget how much energy it takes to be enthusiastic or cheerful or charismatic and also like constantly talk. My voice gets strained at times, my friend. Gets strained at times. Now, the person who submitted this next one, oh, Steam account. Oh, yeah. Well, I just got this new computer, and I don't like when it's automatically open, so that's my fault. I need to change that from when I turn on my computer. So the person who submitted this next one here didn't give me a name. SW, those initialisms actually sounds familiar from somebody that has posted here in the past, which is great. Just wish they were here so I can give them a little more details so they could let us know, but I don't mind. We'll go through and see what we can find here. Oh, hold on. I got a text coming in. What are you playing on Steam currently, mister? I'm looking for some new games. Although my Steam account is large and in charge of unplayed games. I should play the new update of Hades 2, because I loved Hades. And I'm kind of looking for something to fill in Diablo since I've moved on from that. Although I need to play the new Path of Exiles, which I have yet to do. And then I found some others that are like that I need to get into. Road 96. I've never heard of Road 96, but MLB Rivals I have. Okie dokie Finoki. Let's take a look what we got here. So we got a user submitted art. We got a nice, let's just say, midnight-esque winter scene. A little bit of a reflection up here on the top left with the lights, so it looks like it's probably been varnished here. So we got a beautiful little midnight sky with some either like fog and clouds coming in here, cascading across the landscape with some background trees, some snowy trees, a little bit of lake, or it could be a river perhaps. Love the moon that's being hidden. And then we've got our trees in the foreground here with our snow. And I'm actually really loving the tint on the snow. It looks beautiful. I actually love it all the way through and through, and we'll get to that in a second. Hey, what's up, Dan? How you doing there? Greetings from the USA. I'm glad for Norway for tuning in, my friend. I would love to go visit Norway one of these days. Be one of my top places I'd go to visit, mostly because Dan's there. So let's take a... how's your day going, Dan? Let's take a look what we got here. So it's a little hard to critique the sky because it's blown out with reflections here. But I love... Let's see, I'm on red. Let's get red up here. I love how this person formed the different sky through and how the clouds in. Like, the blackness is creeping from left to right, which is exactly what you want to have because our light source is right here. So as it fades out and across our landscape and canvas here, the light would get less penetrating. You know, it wouldn't be as strong, which is why this is all black over, which is great. So whoever did this did a beautiful job. The only thing I would probably introduce a little bit more, it's a little more of an advanced technique, is since our light source is here, it's going to be strongest here. So the person could have put a few little like white little highlights or just a little bit more brightness around these areas where the clouds or mist or low-hanging fog, whatever you want to call this, is getting just like kissed a little bit by the moonlight, if you will. And it would just add a little extra layer of dimension within these clouds. It looks like they tried a little bit because you can see how there's brighter spots like right here, 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 maybe a little here. I think what probably happened is when they took their 2-inch or 1-inch brush, they accidentally probably wiped it away a little bit, which is fine because if they want a softer appeal, that's perfectly good. But maybe just adding a little bit more so to make it a little more, or have a little more depth. Oh, let me get rid of that moon. But good. I really love how they built a layer of different planes in the midground. This is very, very good. And it's just a simple technique. They took the same exact color. They did one tree line here. That's just a very dark color, probably like black and blue or just straight up black that just faded out over this way. And then they created another one with different trees right here, trees and bushes that they had go across. And then they just highlighted it with white. So now they've got two planes that are very close together that look beautiful. So great job, whoever did this. The only critique I would possibly give of it, even though it's very tough to do if you don't have the right brushes because you need smaller brushes, is since, again, this is our highlight side, I would put more snow on the side that's facing the moon because that would be illuminated more. And then I would also have some deep, dark, rich spots under here, which they kind of did, but they highlighted a little too much. So that way there would be a little more contrast even. But great job again. Whoever, all you people that submit your art are just learning so much and so fast. It's amazing. You guys are doing fantastic. The only critique I would give is they did a really good job here where they slope the angle of the snow, but then when they get to the plateau of the snow, it just feels too flat, like it doesn't flow correctly because it's bent in a weird shape. So they would probably want to brush that in and out a little bit more so it looks like it's more cemented real. Like this looks really flat, but then all of a sudden it like takes a curvy, wurvy turn burn, which doesn't look as natural. They should have just made more straight lines coming across that would etch into the landscape a little bit more to create a more natural flow with the planes that they were creating. Like this flow looks really good and then it plateaus too much. They could have just, they should have flattened out and then brushed in and feathered in these edges a little bit more to make it look a little more natural. Oh, and we also have the tree line back here. Good job. This guy's doing fantastic stuff. Okay, let's take a look. So we got our water. They got the trees down in here. They did a pretty decent job of reflecting the moonlight into the water. Good for them. That can be very difficult, by the way. If you ever want to do that, just put a blob of white down there, and then take a clean and dry 1-inch brush, brush it out left and right, and then take a 2-inch brush and just feather it in, and it'll look beautiful. Remember to keep your feathering thicker up here, and then as you work your way down, whoops, that's not a brush command. Make sure you get thinner and thinner and thinner because that's how the natural perspective of light would go across. That's very difficult to do because even I forget it sometimes. I'll just be like, oh, we'll just paint this in. Da 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 da. Oh, it's all the same. That's not how it would work, sadly. But they're doing a good job. Doing a good job. They even did a decent job of keeping everything darker as it got further from the light source, which is freaking fantastic. I guess you could call this maybe a frozen lake if you wanted. All right, let's take a look at the trees here. So the trees are... they're not bad. They're not bad. There's just something slightly off about them, and I can't tell what it is. It might... this one's good. Or actually, let's put that in green, so that way. This one looks pretty good. For some reason, these look too... I don't know. I think it's just the shape. The shape of the flow of the highlights of how it's sitting are bothering me a little bit because it looks like blob, 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 blob when I feel like it should flow a little bit more as it works its way down. Especially if, oh, you know what it probably is? I think the element of the landscape is these are contradicting these right here. And a little bit of this. This doesn't look like it's too far in the background. These have a lot of snow on them, but these don't. I feel like these either need to be reduced snow or these need to have more snow. I think that's what's bothering me because it doesn't match the element of what this person's designing within here. And it doesn't take much. It would just be a little bit more here, 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 and then a little bit of a shadow side cascading here, here, here. Obviously working from more to less as you work your way down. But then I think it would really match the situation of what's going on within the element. Need more movement in the trees? That could be true too. That could be true too. They're just very, very well trimmed and well kept trees. Like they have a very good asymmetry going to them. I think like when you looked at yours, Mr. Who, yours to me looked a little more natural. Not to say there's a right way of trees and a wrong way of trees. Trust me, I've seen trees be perfectly asymmetrical and some be wonky, some be on their side. There's a bunch of different things. But I think when you have like some that come up here and then they get a little heavy on one side and then a little heavy on one side, or heavy on this side and then heavy down, it just makes it look a little more natural, like they're more nourished in certain spots, or the sunlight hits something in certain spots. So that would be the only advice I would give to this person on trees. The one thing they did a beautiful job on, beautiful and perfect job. Look at these shadows that come down and across all the element. Whoever did this, beautiful, dude. You thought about this right. You even put specular highlights to create more of an illusion for the shadows that come in here. Beautiful, beautiful job. And this snow is probably the best part of the painting. I had someone tell me that my snow-covered trees look like corkscrews. If they look fine, that's okay. It's probably just the way that you're tapping in. I mean, do you think they look bad? That could be a compliment. Doesn't mean it's a bad compliment. These shadows are amazing. These are beautiful. I love how there's, like, let me zoom in here. I love how there's smooth elements to them. I love how there's brushstroke elements to them. So it looks like there's specular highlights and parts that are just sticking out. Could be high part of the land and low part of the land. I love how they pulled and swooped everything in. I love the deep, dark, rich blue and purple. I love the deep, dark, and rich violet transitions. I love how snow made it through some certain parts because maybe light's peeking through. That's my favorite part of this painting, is the snow. Whoever did the snow here did a fantastic, fantastic job. The only critique I would give is, let me make sure I'm on red, is right here. And I do this sometimes too. You're having your two elements meet. And when you have two elements meet, you either have to decide as the artist, are they on the same plane? Which means they would probably generally connect to each other somehow by brushing them in. Or are they separated? Is one in front of the other? Or is one behind the other? Or any combination of any of that? So you would need to have some separation. And for the separation here, you would probably want to put a little bit of shadows that fade up into here just ever so slightly, so that way when you drop in this beautiful specular highlight or brighter color, there's more separation of a plane. Otherwise, this person could have taken, and if they don't want that approach, maybe they're like, hey, these are too close together. Okay, when you drop in this plane here, let's use a green. When you drop in this plane here that you're pulling with like a flat or fan brush, whatever, just start to feather it into right there. So now these planes connect in some fashion. They just have different slopes that make it look. And then you can just fade it up like they did. And then that would make the landscape look more real or more natural, if you will. Dan, I just wanted to say, you are the reason why I started with oil painting. When I saw you made clouds, I was hooked. Well, good, Dan. I'm glad that I've been able to motivate you. That's all I've ever been trying to do. I may not be the best painter, and I may not have the best tutorials because I don't have a lot of time with a full-time job and getting rejected on Bumble. But I know what it's like to make every single mistake possible because I've made them all. So I teach from that perspective of how to not make those mistakes so you don't get discouraged. And I try to give you all the tips and tricks that I've learned from me and other artists that will help you not be perfect, but help give you the confidence that every time you do it, it's going to be slightly better and slightly better and slightly better and slightly better to where you're like, fuck, I got this now. So I'm stoked for you, Dan, and I can't wait to see what you're painting. Thank you for the compliment on the clouds. Yeah, I'm slowly working my way down a painting. Doing YouTube tutorials is tough, man. I want to get some more equipment. I'm just trying to get more support because I want to buy another light. I want to buy another easel. I'd like to get another camera so I can show. People always want to see how like I mix my paints or load my paintbrush or, wiggle it through. And I do find that beneficial, but that's just hard to keep moving camera on and off to capture all those things. So I'm still refining my process. Plus, when I do have times to make tutorials, I'm like, fuck it. I got 4 hours. Let's set it up and let's shoot it. Because making art videos take a long time. Like, first of all, it takes money. You got to buy all the supplies, then you got to set it all up and light it, and then think about what you're going to say as you paint it. I got to make sure my face, my shoulder, my body, my arm aren't blocking everything. I got to make sure it's in focus. I got to make sure everything looks accurate. Then I got to edit it, and I got to think about what I want to say for voiceovers if I'm not talking. It takes a lot of effort. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. All your views do help, and using the links help me a ton too. Do you only do classes in person? Currently, yes. In California, I teach generally about once a month at a location. If you're in California, I'll be more than happy to share that information with you. I am currently working on, and I'm doing a lot of research. If anybody out there is well adversed in websites or hosting management or any kind of building skills, I'm working on a new website for me, which I plan on launching this year. And in that website, I will be offering many different services, where one of them will be online classes, one-on-one group sessions, whatever we can accommodate. I'll be doing events too. And then one thing I've done twice already this year, surprisingly, which has been nice, is I've had 2 artists reach out to me asking if I can help them with consultations on them starting art sales. And I've had really good feedback from both artists that I've helped. So maybe I'll start offering that as a service as well, just like one-on-one consultation services to help you out on the right foot. So those will be coming down the pipeline. So painting classes, lessons, and I guess we'll just call it consultations, if you will. But yes, I will be eventually doing online something. I just got to figure it out, because I used to do online live streaming painting all the time. It was actually one of my funnest things to do. I used to do it on Twitch before YouTube started doing live streaming. And I had a whole setup that would be like right here, or maybe, I guess it was on this side because I'm right-handed. And it wasn't this room, it was my other room. And I would paint and then just ask questions, and we'd paint a painting. I'd generally get all the way through, but sometimes I'd only get halfway through because it's fun to talk to people. And I would explain what I'm doing and show and, do all that fun stuff. But this is where I keep all my... Don't judge me because my room's dirty right now, but this is where I keep all my expensive stuff. My monitors, generally in that corner is where all my lighting and sound equipment go, but I've moved it because I'm going to clean. And then I've got all my gaming stuff over here, my computer and whatnot, and then I generally keep behind me my extra lights. So when I'm painting, and sometimes you're vigorous because you're drinking whiskey, is you'd get painting material everywhere. You'd get like splashes of paint one way or another. You drop your paintbrush, drop medium, and you'd mess up that area. So I got to figure out a way to start doing it a little more safely so I don't damage my stuff. But I would love to start doing that again too, because it's fun talking with people and it's fun engaging. And then people are like, oh, how do you do a tree? I'm like, well, I'm going to do trees in like 30 minutes here. If you want to stick around, chit chat, have fun, and then I'll show you what I do and I'll explain it. And people really like it, Plus it's fun. It motivates me to keep painting and practicing as well. Where can you send a photo for my review? So if you actually go down in the video description of this live stream right here, Dan, there will be a Dropbox link. Click on that, drop your photo in. Camera, there we go. And I will be more than happy to review it. I can actually do it next because this is the last one that I have here. And let me know when you do it. So video description underneath the video player here, there should be a Dropbox link, should be a hyperlink. Just click on it, pops up to my Dropbox, free to use. Drop it in there. If you can, label the photo. That always makes things more beneficial for me. All right, let's go back to the last part of this, just so we finish this out. The last little bits of critique for this is, I would just say, like we said, try adding a little more of those highlights to the clouds, the separation points of the highlights, the land, fading it down and in. And then just maybe being a little more loose on the trees and the highlights and the shadow sides that you put there. Shadows are on point, perfection. And then that little separation between the 2 mounds of the hills, or connect them together. And I think that'll be good. You both are from Tennessee? Oh my lordy. Editing is my least favorite part of videos. Editing, I enjoy editing until... First of all, I'm never happy with anything I ever do when I'm editing. I'm like, this could be better. And it's tough too, because like when I make videos, when I do paintings for videos, they're never my best, because I'm just thinking about, how would I want to teach somebody or do this or do that. When I paint, dude, I don't talk. My mind's off. I'm sitting there and I don't want to have to think about camera angles or making sure my hand's out of the way. Dude, there's sometimes I'm painting in a video, you guys never see it. I'm painting like this. Okay. Tap this in and pull the color down. I gotta move my hand out of the way. Dude. It's like, it's hard, because one of the things that I always hate when I still love to watch YouTube artists. because I always love to learn. One thing I hate is somebody's like, oh, hey, today I'm going to show you how to paint, I'm going to show you how to paint like the trunk of a tree with texture on it, like that's got bark or husk. I'm like, ooh, cool. And then they're up there painting, and then their hands like blocking everything. And I'm like, I can't see what you're doing, dude. And then they move it away, and they're like, and there you go. And I'm like, I didn't see shit. I'm like, cool, thanks, bro. I'm like always very conscious of that. I want to be like, okay, let me show you. Let me get it out of the way, and then okay, so you're gonna pull down, make sure you flow because trees aren't straight. Like, it's tough. I would love to invent an easel that I can like tilt in certain fashions. They make ones that rotate, but they don't make ones that tilt, so that I could like tilt it so that way the camera can stay placed, but then my hand can change with it. I don't know. I'm always thinking of different things. My mind never shuts off. Okay, cool. Let me go grab that now, actually. So let me drop that in here. The one thing I really want to create, my friend has a 3D printer, actually lives across the street from me, is I would love to make a new cleaner, thinner cleaning bucket that allows me to wipe brushes off, that has like a little bit of a comb to it and a press. So that way, like when you pull your thinner out, you can like go through the, I'm not sure how to explain this, go through the comb so it pulls the remaining pigment and thinner out that drips down in the bucket, and then push a little press down so that gets the remainder thinner out. So that way you're not wasting as much thinner. But my friend was telling me, if anybody out there is a 3D expert, there's not much 3D tubing that is made that can hold up to chemicals. So basically like the acetone or whatever chemicals or that are in thinner could essentially eat through the plastic, which bums me out because I would love to try to make something. I know they make mold injection plastics, but that's a little outside my pay grade and knowledge. All right, let me grab, somebody said they just dropped another one in here. There we go. Let me download it. Give me 1 second. Loading it in here. Oh, this one's cool. All right, let me get my chat back up so I can see. Is everybody from Tennessee? Is that where like my strong community is Tennessee? Should I move out to Tennessee? I've actually never been to Tennessee. I'd love to go. A lot of places in the United States that I've never been able to see, or not been able to see, but haven't been to yet, that I would love to. One of my goals for 2025, I've been slow to work on. I've got so many things going on. Not that I don't have enough time. I've just been very distracted, let's just say is the best word. Is I want to start doing one painting a month of me traveling to a destination. All of them are going to be California for this year probably. And like photograph an area and then paint that for you all. Like a quick painting, you know? And I think that'd be kind of fun. Plus it'd give me more reason to get outside and go to these different spots. So I've got one that I'm in the works with, but still just want to do a little bit more. But I'd love to do a lot of spots around the United States, a lot of spots around the world eventually. I've never been to the Smoky Mountains. I would love to go. All right, Edinburgh. Is this one yours, or was this the other person that wanted to submit that, whose name I can't see within my chat? Because apparently YouTube likes to leave everything gray in names. It's got to be Edinburgh. Okay. Let me duplicate this layer. I guess let me pull it up so you can see it. That would probably be beneficial. Oh, yours is 135? This one's got to be yours. This is the only one that was in the Dropbox that unless I need to refresh my Dropbox. This has got to be yours. It comes up as image 2164. That's it. Cool. I was going to be like, if this isn't yours, somebody sneaked one in here. All right, let's move this over. Not as strong. There we go. Ah! There we go. Dope, dude. Okay, let's take a look here. Oh, you're retired, you son of a bitch. I love that. Let's take a look. We got a beautiful sky that's gradient down into some very soft clouds that are cascading up into our gradient. Then we got a nice, a very good jaggedy mountain going on through here that dissipates down into a background tree horizon line. And then we've got a trail coming down and across, or a mudslide, if you will. If you're from California, that's what we've been getting. And then we got some front trees and some back trees. and then our grassy plains. So I actually got some good advice I can give you here on this one, buddy. So first of all, if you could let us know, I'm assuming it's oil because it looks like oil, but let us know if it's oil or acrylic. If you could let us know what number painting this is for you and how long you spent on it before I give you advice. So that way I can kind of critique it, inform it a little bit more, if you will. Excuse me. I'm already wanting another coffee. Debating what I should do with my day. Maybe go buy some unbought flowers to make me feel good. It's your number 38. Took a few hours. Okay, cool, man. Looks great. I'm very proud of it for you. So in our last painting, or no, our first painting, we talked about creating a focal point, okay? So your focal point, no, yes, I want my brush. There we go. Your focal point is more or less here, okay? That's where the eye is going to be attracted to. So everything in your painting more or less is going to focus around this point, let's say. It could be a little lower, but it's generally right around there. So to help with the illusion of creating a focal point of where you want to direct the viewer's eye, is you can do something called a vignette, okay? So a vignette is a very basic technique. You got a beautiful gradient that's coming all the way from the top of your canvas down to here where it dissipates out from the blue color, yes? Well, go back next time and just add a little more dark blue into the corners and pull that blue towards your mountain peak. And what that does is it's going to create the illusion of a focal point of a vignette that's going down towards your mountain. And all you need to do is just add a little more blue, blend it in with a 1-inch brush, and then blend it in even more with a 2-inch brush so it's nice and smooth. That'll also help your clouds stand out a little bit more, especially on these upper on these upper top sides here, okay? Very, very easy to do. It's just adding a little more paint in those two particular spots. The other thing I would notice is I'm going to assume you put your clouds in with maybe a 1-inch or a 2-inch brush. There's no right or wrong way to do a cloud. Clouds can be whatever they want, okay? However, in our minds, we see clouds as one way more than another way. And I think your clouds have too many straight lines going through them, okay? So what I would recommend is when you put in a cloud next time, take a 1-inch brush, load one side, or take a 2-inch brush and load just half of the top. So 1-inch brush, do the whole brush, just pull through like that, okay? Let me go to this hand mixing palette, this hand brush. Go through and just pull, just like that. That's a 1-inch brush, flip it over. Or take a 2-inch brush and take, like, if this hand's the brush, just split it kind of in half and take the paint through this, okay? So now that you've loaded up your brush, when you go to your clouds or your canvas here, start tapping in and pulling in, kind of go up and down and up and down and up and down and just fade out in what you want. Kind of move that brush on different degrees and planes and rotate it all the way through, and you're going to get different beautiful crowns that have different atmospheric pressures in them and atmospheric densities. And it's the same thing. What you probably did is you probably just pushed and tapped all the way through, like cut more or less in a straight line. And while that's not wrong, because clouds can be whatever they want to be, I think you'll probably be happier with the first way explained, because you'll have different like ridges and different densities and different pockets of transparency or opaqueness going through it, and it'll add a lot. Then if you want from there to pull your clouds up to create a certain type of effect, then when you fluff it in, just fluff in that direction, okay? And that'll look like the wind's kissing up or flowing up in that direction. It'll look a lot more natural for you, okay? And that's it. Like your clouds more or less look good. They just have these smooth lines going through them, which are, to me, distinctly noticeable. So I think if we could just tap in a little bit more and then just fade up, it'll create a more natural look to your mountain. All in all, very, very good though. You can also probably blend in a little bit of the bottom side of your cloud a little bit more. It'll anchor it a little bit more within the landscape to look more natural as well. Excuse me, throat's a little sore. Your mountain also looks very, very good. However, you've got triangular edges going through it. So we've got one triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles, 4, What we want to do is break up those triangles, okay? And like we talked about for our first review here, try adding a little bit of jiggliness and jagginess to your hand. It doesn't have to be a perfect swoop with your angled shader or your palette knife. You can be a little shaky, so when you come up, you jiggle the knife. It's a little hard for me to do on the mouse, and then come up, jiggle, and then maybe come down. Maybe this guy takes a bigger break, and he comes down, and he jiggles, and he comes down and through, and goes off, and then maybe this guy comes up strong, and then jiggles across, and comes down. And now you've got something that's a little more natural. So now when you take your palette knife and you have to turn it over and create like a cheat line for a highlight and shadow, you can be like, okay, well, this is going to be this side. Maybe this side comes down in here. This side comes down in here. And let's say maybe this side here. So it's like, okay, well, now I've got my highlight on this side, highlight on this side, highlight on this side, and highlight on this side. And then I can bring my shadows meet down into here. In here, maybe there's just a little crack, and then this guy cuts down in here, just like that. And this guy flows all the way over. Now you've got something that's a little more natural in shape. And all you did is add a little bit of a jiggle rather than have straight, strong lines. Now, when I teach my classes, depending on which class it is or who it is or how experienced they are, I actually tell people, because it's easy for our mind, because we all know what a triangle is because we went to elementary school, I just go, just make a triangle. So you can still do triangles. I'm just going to explain here on this one. So I just go, hey, just go up and go down. Okay? Like, we literally have a triangle right there. Yeah? And then I go, okay, now go back over it. Like, let's just say we'll start here and add a little more jiggle. Push that paint up. So jiggle, 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 come down, jiggle, 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 take it up a little bit beyond, come down, jiggle, 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 come down, jiggle, 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 jiggle. And now you've got something that's a little bit more of a natural mountain built off that triangular shape that you had. And you can even jiggle a bit more. Maybe I want a little bit higher. Maybe he comes down and across and he goes do 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 do. So you got something a little bit more like that. Sorry, this is just a quick fill-in, you know. But now I've got all these more natural bumps, and if I don't like anything, I can kind of change it and form it. And there we go. Like, just add a little bit of jiggle. So now you've got all these different rockinesses. It's not a real word, but you know what I mean. Like rocky points and jagged edges, and it looks like it's just been hit by the elements of wind, snow, sleet, all that fun stuff. And it looks more natural to the eye, and it looks more natural within the environment. Yeah, don't be afraid to add broken edges, because even if you don't like, let's just say, let me make this smaller. Let's say you don't like this right here, like this little bump. You're like, that looks dumb. Okay, that's easier to fix. We'll just come back up here and go bigger. We'll just take that line and just connect it, you know? It's like, okay, you're back to your triangle shape that you want. Maybe I should just add a little bit of a swoop, you know, put over here then. It's like, okay, well, now that's what we got. The cool thing about when you make a mountain in oil paint is you can always like start a little thinner, and if you don't like it, you can always go on the outside edges and keep building out until you get a shape that you want. Oh, I should have made this on a separate layer. There we go. So that way you have something a little more natural, and I think you'll really, really like it. So the other thing I would recommend for you is, if you haven't yet, get used to drawing in like cheater lines. I call them highlight and shadow lines. So that way you know where everything's going to be. So now you know, like, okay, well, this side's going to be highlight side. This side's got to be shadow side. This side's highlight side. This side's shadow side. This side's highlight side. This side's shadow side. So that way you'll know where your intersection points are. So that way you can start thinking about how they would fade in and fade out for where your paint breaks would go. The problem with yours is your highlight side and more or less your shadow side are the same color. So it makes your mountain look a little flat. When you start painting, I like to over-exaggerate it a little bit for a new painter so it's a little easier for your brain to see. On your highlight side, just use pure white. And on your shadow side, use a combination of like black and white, marbleized, or blue and white, marbleized. So that way there'll be a strong, distinctive color. And then as you start painting a few more, you can really hone in what you want those colors to be. But when you have colors that are too similar, like white and off-white, or white and an off-gray white, it just makes your mountain look a little flat. And then always remember, wherever your light source is, let's say if your light source was here, your happy little guy, he's shooting down his rays. You have to pick what side your highlight side's going to be on. So highlight, shadow, highlight, shadow, highlight, shadow. So always remember that too. Wherever you establish your light source is where your highlights, shadows, and all that fun stuff will be established as well. Your dissipation's not bad. You need to tap out this a little bit more and then fade up. So it looks like you brushed across with cross strokes this way, which is great, which is what you want to do. That'll create the illusion of this atmosphere of how you have your white going up into your gray. But also your last step should be a feather up motion into your mountain of whatever angle your mountain is. So this should feather up this way. This should feather up this way. This should feather up this way. However, this should feather up that side. This should feather up that side. You'll even have one here. Whoops, that's not a paintbrush. Brush. You'll even have one that feathers up this way. Follow the angles of your mountains because that'll create the illusion of your mountain flowing down into the atmosphere, okay? You can even, if you want to create some fun lines, take these white lines and you can even pull them down, which I do sometimes. They look like motion lines, but it'll create a cool little effect. Just something to think about with the dissipation within the earth and atmosphere and light pollution, all that. All right, let's get to the big elephant in the room, trees. Trees are tough, my friend. I feel like all of your trees, not counting this guy, not counting this guy, and maybe this guy and this guy to a less extent, all of your trees are more or less on the same plane. And we have to break up that plane a little bit. So first of all, your first layer of trees should be actually higher to cover this big void of space. So this entire element right here, no, that was let's stroke that higher. Let's do 40. This entire element right here should actually, whoops, no, done with that, done with that. This entire element should like start up here, okay? So that way it covers up a lot of the void space, the mistakes and things you don't want. And then we could add a bigger, fuller foreground there. That would be way more beneficial. So I would say start higher. Don't be afraid to paint over certain things like your mountains, your paint breaks, and dissipation. That's the cool thing about oil paint. So these tree lines, you should take like the color that you have here, like this nice little honey green color, and you should start tapping in like up here, okay, with just a little bit of color, because remember, this is a mid-ground element. We don't want too much focus on it, but make sure to break up the line. Don't make a picket fence. Like make some high, make some low, make some high, make some low, make some high, make some low, and then take a 2-inch brush and just fade it out and pull that excess color out. So now you've got this nice little background tree horizon line that we can work off of. Then we can start building our layers from there, whether if we want our grassy hills to come down and across, or we want to start building more of these trees that you have in here, okay? And then these trees would have a little more darker pigment because we're getting closer and closer to our viewpoint, which means they'd have a little more detail in detail. Now, the biggest mistake you're making when it comes to your trees, these right here, is you're being way too sparse with paint. And I can tell your paint's not sticking because you're using most likely firm-ish paint out of the tube, which means it's going to have a hard time sticking on a wet layer. So Edinburgh, you need to invest in some medium, okay? I would suggest using something on the more cheaper side, like a linseed oil, which is fine. Or if you can get it like a walnut oil or a poppy oil works great, or even stand oil works fine. Whatever's available in your area. If you have liquid clear that you already own, just take a few drops of that, maybe a few being anywhere from like 2 to 8, depending on how much paint you're making, and mix it into it's a nice creamy texture. You want it to be creamy, so that way when you take your paintbrush through it, and then like you say, let's say you tap your paintbrush into your mixing palette there, you get a nice dense pocket of color. That means it's perfect. So that means that's going to apply to your canvas, because you're most likely trying to apply too much firm paint, which is just not really sticking to anything because there's nothing for it to grab. We need a more flexible paint, okay? So once we have that flexible paint and you go in there and you tap in your tree after you create your little guideline here, you're gonna have this paint that just sticks easily as we come down and tap out our tree to make it nice, thick, and full. And you're gonna see that it just more easily comes off the paintbrush, okay? And you would do the same thing on this side and here too. You'd start tap, 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 going out fuller, going out fuller, going out fuller. Yes, you would reload your paintbrush multiple times because we're newer painters, so you're gonna run out of paint. Just run it back and through. And now you've got a tree that's got a little more fullness to it. Or if you want it to be sparse like you have here, just, whoops, you would tap and color, tap and color, tap and tap, 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 leaving these gaps in here of what you want. But your firm paint is really being hard on you. It's not being received by the canvas as well, okay? And then when you want to add highlight, just mix in, make your paint even a little bit more flexible than the previous one so that way it has something to stick onto. And then you'll have these fuller trees that look more natural and will bloom better from your paintbrush because you'll be pushing in, which means the bristles will blend out, which will look like thousands and hundreds of little needles coming down and hanging in different directions. It'll look better, which will look awesome. Yeah, and that's it for trees. Like, I say kudos to you for attempting so many. I mean, you got, not counting your background here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 10 trees. That's pretty impressive, dude. What I would say is paint this again and simplify it for yourself so you have something to compare. Do the sky in the exact same way that we just discussed. Create your mountains the way we discussed. Make the triangles, then build them out, and then do the highlights and shadow side. Dissipate them down the way you want. Move the foreground up higher so it becomes a better middle ground for you. Then tap in your tree line and fade it out so that way you have something to build against. And then rather than doing 10 trees, let's cut it in half. Let's do 5. Let's do 5 trees. Do 3 on this side. Do 3 middle ground trees. You got 1, 2, 3. Not necessarily in that order, but whichever way you want. You could do, 1 big one here, 1 medium here, 1 smaller one here, whatever you want. Or you can make them slanted a little bit, anything like that. Make that on the left side, then carve in your path, which we'll get to in a minute, okay? And then have 2 big old trees. Maybe have one that goes way up here that's just dominating the foreground, and then maybe a smaller one right here that's just starting to grow. So that way you'll have different layers that play off each other and whatnot, And if you're scared to paint so much paint on top of, because it is difficult, on top of sky, clouds, mountain structure, then highlight structure, and middle ground and foreground color, because that's a lot of layers. Give this painting 12 hours to 24 hours before you paint the right side. Let it tacky up a little bit and you'll see everything flow and stick a little bit better. But that's what I would do. Simplify this painting for yourself so it becomes easy. And then this road, I just can't give you any advice on at the moment because it has to do with perspective and viewpoints, which is extremely advanced. What you want to think about is I would probably even flatten out your paintbrush, your palette knife, and create the illusion of a perspective by starting out very thin with your palette knife or paintbrush, and as you come down and across, keep it horizontal, then start making your path a little thicker, and then start to make it really thick as you come down here, and it'll create the illusion of when you're dropping this in that your path starts to fade back and across here, which will be created even more with these big elements of these trees that you'll be dropping in front of it. Then you can take your palette knife with a mixture of titanium white, brown or ochre or any kind of thing that you want there, and start putting highlights on top of it to create the illusion of pebbles, rocks, dirt, movement, whatever's in there. I would create your strongest highlights on the path in the front and then let it dissipate in the back, okay? So start your first strokes here and then let that paint run out as it works back. And then your grass isn't bad, dude. Your grass and rolling hills aren't that bad. The only thing I would say, you did a pretty good job, in the front here, 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 and here, you start to mud mix a little bit. So start off with a darker color, like here and here, and then clean off your brush, go back with that cad yellow and a little bit of sap green, and then just start tapping it on top of how you want to shape this land right on top of that dark color, and then start fading down into that dark. And you'll notice your highlights go from a bright yellow or a yellow honey color or a yellow white color, whatever. And then as it starts to touch that green and sap green or sap green and blue, it'll start changing and dissipating in color as it gets further and further away, creating a better illusion of different rolling hills or different pockets of hills there. And that looks good, dude. I would say paint this again. Paint this again with the advice that we just gave. And I think you'll start to see that there's a lot of cool little things that you'll improve upon with just like some simple different changes that'll really, really help you. And you'll see a lot of big improvement. Definitely try it again. Definitely try it again. This is a simple this is a painting that you should simplify so you have better results. I mean, honestly, if I was going to paint this again as a brand new painter, I would do the sky the exact same way. Move your mountains up a little bit. Let me make this larger for you. Move your mountains up. I would start painting my mountains like here, and then come down like that. Boom. So it's a little higher up. I would only do 3 peaks. Do 3, don't do 4. You did 4. That's a little difficult. Do 3, plus it's an odd number. It's more pleasing to the eye. And then move the foreground, midground elements up. I would start it like right here, you know, and then your big tree could come up here, and then your middle tree is over here like we stated, and then you have your rolling hills come down and across like that, and then you've got a lot more room to play with, you know. I hate Discord. I mean, I would probably start one for other people. I would never be in it. And then people have always asked for me to do a Facebook group too, which I kind of started but never really did anything with. And then I think somebody else started one for me of like a Happy Tree Artist forum, or sorry, Facebook group. But I just, when I'm off, you know, like I don't want to always be online. I kind of enjoy disconnecting a little bit. But one thing I was really hoping to get, Mr. Who, is YouTube said that they're starting to give out the new community tab within YouTube, which allows me to share, but also allows you to share. And by sharing, I mean photos, which I think would be great, because then you can start sharing your photos of what you're painting or questions you have in the community tab, the new community tab. But I don't have access to that just yet. They're bringing it out slowly, and they're bringing it out to a few creators. So I'm hoping I get that, because then rather than you guys going through my Dropbox or something, I can grab from the community tab and make a post and just go from there, because I think that'll be cool. Discord's fun and all, but I mean, I used to have one when I did Twitch, and it's just trolls and memes and people always asking for your time and attention, and honestly, that's not me. I'm a little beyond that, even though I love the community that we have here and the community that I've built, and I love all the people that are in it, and I'm very grateful for the people that show up and have fun and the people I get to help. It's just, I don't want to be on call. That's what Discord feels like to me at times. Dan, you submitted? Let me see what I can find here. I probably got enough time to do one more. Thank you, by the way, Edinburgh, for the allowing me to look at your artwork and review it. You can always pay me back by watching my videos using the links in the submission, or not the links in my videos when you're buying products. And any other type of support I really greatly appreciate. All right, DDR, boom, boom, boom. Let me download this really quick. Load it up. This one will probably be a little bit more of a quicker one if you don't mind, because I'm getting hungry and tired again. Got to get away from the computer. Plus, I'll be on here later today editing a new video and working on stuff. So many things, so little times. It's a lot of work. We'll see what I can get going. But I love doing this stuff. All right. This one is Dan. Let me switch you over. This one looks great, dude. I love the thick textures on it. There we go. Let's increase this so you guys can see. Oh, no. Boom. There we go. You have another channel you do gaming content on? Nice. Do you do videos or do you live stream on that one, Mr. Hill? I have my Twitch channel, which is just Wild for Games, which I still need to get back into a lot. I miss streaming. Like, even on Thursdays, I got nobody to play with, so I'm like, maybe I should just start streaming again. All right. Let's take a look at this one really quickly. We've got a beautiful sky, beautiful clouds, mountains. We got our rolling hills that are fading up, background tree, or sorry, mid-ground tree line, beautiful trees and bushes here. You do videos? Nice, dude, nice. And then we got our strong lake with reflections here. So Dan, let's go through this really quick. First of all, I love your taped off lines. Beautiful. Gives me a tape line boner. It's so beautifully done. Love it. I love when just crisp, clean edges. Is anybody else? Mostly Mario Kart? Hell yeah, dude. I haven't played Mario Kart in forever. I got nobody to play with. So I love your sky. Your sky is a beautiful gradient coming all the way down and through. You've got the dark, rich blues coming down and fading down into our horizon line, which looks great. Normally, I'd say you could do a vignette, but you know what? You got a strong blue to a lighter blue. You don't need it because your vignette is coming down in a nice cascade that's nice and even. Your clouds are good. They're not great. I feel like they could add... You could have a little more... what's the word I want? They could be cemented a little bit more in the environment. What I would say is when you do your clouds next time, buddy, spend a little bit more time blending in the bottom of your clouds with some soft circular strokes. And then as you do your soft circular strokes, think about which direction that cloud is flowing in different directions. So for example, this cloud tail end here, you've got this beautiful little cloud right here, but you should be pulling this cloud down and across to really make it look like the wind is pulling it in one direction or the other. So when you're doing these circular strokes with just a few bristles, pull it down in this direction that you want. You could pull it up in this direction or down in this direction. It's up to you. But that way you'll get a nice little dissipation of a tail that flows into this cloud, and I think you'll really, really like it. Plus, it'll give a stronger concentration of the crown sticking out because you faded out the bottom now that the crown's going to stick out even more, or the outline edge, if you will, which you would notice on clouds like this. Like the top of your crown and outline is just as strong as the bottom. And that kind of doesn't happen unless you have like a cumulus nimbus cloud, whatever it is, whatever those strong flat bottom ones are. Most clouds have softer dissipated bottoms than they do tops, mostly because the light is hitting the top, so it creates that strong outer edge. So just think about that. Think about when you have your bottom here, think about dissipating it out, especially when you get near the horizon line, Dan. There's more light diffusion that's reflecting up in the water droplets of the atmosphere and reflection and all that. So you'd probably want to dissipate this out even more around the horizon line to create a cool effect. Your your mountains look great. Yeah, you have a little bit of a triangle going on, so you could probably break it up, like we've said, with a few more jaggedy edges as you come up and across. And you know, don't be afraid to let that hand jiggle and wiggle. But you've got really good distinctive lines for your highlights and your shadows. However, the one thing I will critique on is your highlight and your shadow side are straight lines, more or less. So you've got a straight line almost here. You've got kind of a straight line here. And then you do have a curved line, but it's a consistent curved line. Try adding a few jags and wiggles for your curves as well. Or sorry, for your highlights and shadows as well. So that way when you're doing highlights, you have some that come in, some that go out further and across. And it'll really start to break up your mountain and make it look more natural and look like it's, you know, these tectonic plates have formed out of the earth. So just think about how you want to cut these in a little bit more when you're creating your highlights and shadows. It'll start to form all these different, you know, valleys and crevasses and hills and whatnot. And then the one thing I do appreciate about yours, I probably shouldn't have, I don't think this will let me go back that far. I might have taken it a little too far. I should have made it a highlight. Oh, there we go. The one thing I do like about yours is you left gray underneath. That's what you want, because it looks like, you know, it's a mountain. So it looks like there's undertones of colors. So it looks like maybe the light got through here and melted part of the mountain structure, or sorry, the snow structure, revealing the mountain structure underneath. Great job, great job. You've got a great misty layer here, which is fantastic. The only thing I would do in addition before creating that misty layer is pull the paint down, feather it down in the direction your mountain is going, so that way it'll fade underneath that misty layer that you're creating, making it look like it just dissipates behind it. It's a very simple technique. Just grab your 1-inch brush, feather down really quickly and lightly, and it'll be perfect, dude. Great rolling hills. Great rolling hills. Just remember to tap out certain spots, like since you're creating a diffusion line under here between the planes, you should just tap this out a little bit more. So do one layer at a time. I know that's difficult for some people. They'll be like tap, 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 tap. Oh, let me do this one. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, let me do this one. Tap, 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 tap. Well, now it makes it really hard to go in here and dissipate this out, to dissipate this out, and dissipate this out. So you probably did do one at a time. I'm just making a reminder for people out there. Do one and then tap it out. Do one and then tap it out. Do one and then tap it out. Things like that, okay? Your tree line's great. I would probably make it a little bit higher because it looks small for the environment that it's in. But I do like how you have some high, some low, some high, some low, which is what would happen. Good job. Your water lines here, Dan, are just as sharp as back here. That's a no-no. Not that it's wrong, but what I would say would work better for you. Put your water lines in, then take a clean 1-inch brush or a clean fan brush and just feather across, okay, very lightly, the lightest you can do. And what that's going to do is it's going to push that water line into that landscape there, and it's going to fade out and become softer, and it's going to not be as distinctive. So people will still notice it, but it just won't be as sharp, forcing the eye to look up here. It'll just be a little background detail. It'll be our little secret, okay? Your trees' shapes are fantastic. I love it. I love how the trunk is peeking through in particular spots. Great job. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful tree shapes. Beautiful tree shapes. This one could have came a little higher. Looks like you got a little wonky on it, probably because it was painting layers on layers and layers, but still great job. The only criticism I'm going to give you is first of all, I love the thick texture. I will always love thick texture of oil painting. Your highlights on your bushes, you got away from you, okay? And by a lot, but that's okay. I love it. We've established, or you established, here's your sun. He's looking happy. He's shining down on you. Okay, so his light is coming this way and his light is coming this way. So you've created your light source, which means highlights on this side would always be here and facing this direction. This one's going to be a little more flat, but they would be on the upside, okay? Which means you need to have, you nailed it here, but we need to have more shadow over here. And then as this light's traveling across, it has a harder time reaching this pocket right here, because these bushes and highlights are blocking the light from going through. So you need to tap in darker color on this, or not as many highlights. Leave the darker color on this side, because that's what would happen. When you get to the other side, when you get to the other side here, now your light would come straight down more. When you get to the other side here, you kind of did it, but then you gave up. You need to leave darker area underneath your highlight more, because the light can't penetrate down and through, okay? So this should be almost completely dark under here. And you got it in some spots, you just let your highlights get away from you. So what I would recommend, Dan, is you're doing a great job. Just ease up on the highlights just a little bit. You can go heavy on your top right here, but then as you get down to the middle and bottom, just back away a little bit. In fact, I would probably do your first like outer line tops, go tap, 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 then put the paintbrush down and walk away, get like 3, 6, 9 feet away, and then look at it and go, oh yeah. That shadow looks great there. My next one should be down into the side of it so I can leave that dark pocket. The problem is when you have highlights, you're like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this is fun. Oh, this is great. Oh shit, all my dark's gone. You know, that's the problem that you have. And we don't want that. We want to keep that shadow going. The other thing is I'm going to give you there was something I had. Oh yeah, 2 pieces of advice, okay? When I teach new painting classes, and it took me a long time to realize this. I had to realize this from Nick Hankins, who taught me a couple things. One, when you're doing highlights, I'm going to try to zoom in here as close as I can to where you guys can see it. Thank God you took a high quality photo. Thank you for submitting this, bud. When you're applying highlights, I didn't know for the longest time is your highlight. Let me get a brush here that's a little bit smaller. Half of your highlight should go above where your green is, or a quarter of it, okay? And then so like this is the paintbrush area, like a 1-inch paintbrush. So half your highlight will be up here, or a quarter, and then the other half will be touching the green. And that gives you more ability to make paint stick and have a natural dissipation of a gradient going through, because you're gonna have a bright yellow up here from your paintbrush that's touching nothing other than hopefully a cleanish canvas or a cleanish area. But when it touches this green area, the yellow is going to mix with that green and create a natural gradient, making it look like the light is cascading through. So when you apply your highlights next time, Dan, try going slightly above your bush. Slightly above your bush. You put yours right on top of your bush, which is what I first started doing, which is not necessarily wrong, but you'll like it more when you start applying higher and then tapping down into the bush. You'll get a cool effect that's going to look more natural. That was one thing Nick taught me, okay? What the hell was the other thing I was going to say? Tap on. Oh, number 2, I notice this all the time when I'm teaching my new classes, is when you're pushing in, you need to have a flexible paint. But when you're pushing in your highlights, you need to push in. I'm going to show this on my big cam. This is canvas. This is my brush. When you push in, let the bristles bend a little bit, and then pull away. Okay? Push in, let it bend, pull away. Push in, bend, pull away. What happens sometimes is your paintbrush will slip, and you get these like mushy areas right there. You get a mushy area right there. You get a mushy area right there. And that's what we don't want. When you can push, bend, those bristles bloom ever so slightly, and that's what creates all these thousands of little leaves. And it's tough. I struggle with it still. But that's how you'll avoid catastrophes like this. And don't be afraid to clean your paintbrush off every 2 to 6 pushes, because it's going to get contaminated with all this color, and that's how you then get muddiness, you know? But that's fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Derp, derp, derp. Like this area. That's what I was trying to concentrate on. You want to push, bend, push, bend, push, bend, push, bend kind of thing, you know? But all in all, dude, I love this. Look at that. When you look at this from a distance, it looks fantastic. Your trees, I don't know what it is about these trees, but these trees just grab my attention. I think it's because I love the branches that, these are strong trees. These are being, well, I just love the branches that go up. I love the little peeking of the trunk coming through. Like, that looks dope. You did a very good job on these, my friend. Very good job. I'm proud of you. You did a fantastic job. Woo! That was a lot. Oh, my lordy. I'm ready to go grab a martini. Margarita. Have a little bit of fun. Oh, man. It's the weekend. I should do something fun, but I probably won't. Because I don't know what I'll be doing. You did a great job, dude. Everybody that submitted today did a fantastic little job. So, thank you. I think that's we nailed everybody, too. And you guys are getting so good. Oh my, me oh my. Alrighty. I think that's going to do it for our reviews today. I want to thank everybody from everything that's submitted. Thank you, Lake, for tuning in, man. I'm glad you guys like us. I'm going to try to do this a little more often for the people that want to tune in. It's fun for me. Plus, it gets my feet wet on seeing where you guys are and all the stuff that you have. Oh, thanks for tuning in, Mr. Who. I'm going to get going here soon, too. I don't know if I have a video coming out tomorrow. Depends if I finish one today, but if I do tune in for it. But I definitely have one coming out this week. Plus a few others that I've got. Some fun stuff. What else do I got coming up? I'm going to be doing some more tutorials, so make sure if you guys haven't had a chance, make sure you hit like and subscribe on the stream and the videos that I do. Leave a comment. I do have a short coming out that I would appreciate you guys watching because it's going to be something that's going to help a charity. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Have fun painting with your weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Having a great time. Feel free to become a member down below the video player. You can subscribe, become a member, help support me, and that allows me to continue to keep making fun videos for you all. So I'm going to go enjoy my weekend. It's actually sunny here in Southern California. It rained for the past 3 days, so I'm going to go enjoy my time. Have a good one. Take care. Keep those paintbrushes wet, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, and of course, peace.